Hey everyone, this is Alex here, friendly neighborhood advisor, and what we're going to talk about today is my cat, of course, since he's the topic of, he's always got to be the center of attention. Yep, that's him. Anyway, so photobombing aside, I'm going to talk about investing and what new investors need to know. So, first thing that I'd say is requirements. We'll do planning first. All right, we'll do planning first. It's hard to say which one should come first, but I'll just kind of cover it all in a short video. So, how do you compare investments? You want to look at all the things that you're interested in, and your interest, why that matters, even if you typically just chase the money, is because even if we think we chase the money, we actually do care about what we're interested in. For example, I've had people come to me and say, "Hey, should I have a beekeeping thing, or should I have this, that?" And each person, I haven't had a single person come to me with the same three things that they want to do. In fact, I haven't had really. There's almost no commonality, except that a lot of people do want to go into real estate if they have the money. But that doesn't even come up that often, honestly. So, what I've noticed is that people are not actually asking me what's the best investment when they ask me that. That is usually how they word it, but what they're really asking is they kind of want some reassurance. They're already kind of picking what direction they go. And if I tell them to go into something that's outside of what they're kind of bringing to me, then they usually don't want to go into that. So you do want to consider your interest a little bit, and keep in mind that that will affect your motivation. It will affect your success level. Also, whatever you're interested in, you're much more likely to get the skills for. You're much more likely to research things on your off time or to go deeper into things instead of just kind of like wanting to be done with the day, things like that. So do keep that in consideration and pay attention to that. Even if you don't think that you're subject to that, look at what you actually do versus what you think you would do in those situations. See kind of what happens. Compare it to your hobby, whatever hobby you put time into that you don't plan to put time into. Kind of look at the difference there and think if you chose something something that was better suited to your interest, then would you be better at it because of the natural intrigue you would have regarding that topic? All right. So when weighing things out, it's not just a consideration of what you're interested in. There actually is a hard money consideration. So you do want to look into to weigh things out and determine what's best. Is you have to look at what the profit is, and you have to look at the risk. You have to do risk versus reward. Now, the reward, typically you want to do what's called ROI, or return on investment. There are a few different ways you can do similar concepts that kind of amount to the same thing. There are different ways that you can weigh the value of what you're going to get out of it. But usually, one of the best practices is, I don't know why I'm choosing tongue twisters. This is the worst script. Anyway, so one of the best practices is to look at, for every dollar you put into this, how much money do you get back out of it? For some things, that's infinite. It's called profit margin. If your profit margin is the entire thing, meaning you put no money into it and you have AI do something for you, that is excellent because you don't need startup. You can do that in your spare time. You don't need to save up. It doesn't hurt your livelihood. It doesn't affect, give you a lower standard of living other than the time that you have to expend to make that happen. But AI aside and high profit margins aside, generally a return on investment. So to simplify that, if you're looking into should I invest in properties versus should I invest in stocks, Bitcoin, day trading, which just means you're trading stocks on a daily basis instead of true investing, long-term investments. Just the different options that you look into, beekeeping, whatever. Look at how much money you have to put into it, and then look at how long it'll take for you to get that money back. So if you put $1 into it, what percentage of that dollar do you get back every year? That's your return on investment. If you put 10,000 in, how long will it take you to get that 10,000 back? And just break it down to $1. Break it down to, okay, $1 for each dollar I put into this, how much do I get per year? All right? And that's how you weigh different results in a simple way when we're not talking about high profit margin things or things that cost nothing like AI, etc. So now you want to look into when you're comparing things, you also want to look into the risk. Now, the reason why risk plays a role is that real estate, you might not do well. Typically, people do, and I don't know the current stats, but it used to be 9 out of 10 self-made millionaires did it through real estate, and that shows that it's a very forgiving, maybe not forgiving, but it's there's a lot of ways you can go about things and a lot of different types of people who can go into it and come out successful. And so some people use the term forgiving. I don't know if I would use the term forgiving exactly, but you can make mistakes and still make it pretty much. And that's why it's usually the safe bet to go into. But if you are looking at it and you're like, and you're thinking that it's a high risk, or if you're looking at stock market and you look at, how reliable is the stock market typically, how likely are people to succeed in this area, that's kind of your risk. So you look at your risk to reward ratio. If you play the lottery, yeah, you're looking at millions of dollars or billions or whatever the stakes are. But if you look at how many people are buying a ticket and you weigh that out, your risk to reward ratio is obviously, not only is it never going to happen, but even if they spread that reward evenly among everybody, you would get nothing worth, it wouldn't be worth the money that you put into it. So that's why you need to look at the weigh the risk to reward ratio, because otherwise the highest value reward, such as lottery, is what you're going to be picking. So you don't really want to do that. So to simplify, kind of summarize what I've been saying, weigh your return on investment, how much of that dollar do you get back every year, to decide what is the most profitable. Consider your interests, determine if you think that applies to you or not. And if you don't, then just at least heed my words going forward, because it can't hurt for you to at least have your eyes open, to be vigilant of that. And then to kind of touch on the high margin areas, those are tough to weigh out. Those are really tough to weigh out because it's a cloud. You can't really define how easily or how well it will work if you do it. All you can do is try it and see what happens. So you can weigh those as well. You can try those, especially if you don't have the money needed to go into something like real estate, or if you don't have enough to make a meaningful difference in the stock market, etc. But what you should do is, what I recommend is, write down all of your projects as brainstorm. Just do a couple of words for each one, okay? Day trading, stock investing, just 2 words a piece, and include those high profit margin ones as well. Just kind of decide which one you want to pick up, and then come up with at what point you'll decide that it's working or it's not working, and make sure that whatever you do, you do it entirely, okay? And that's kind of the third point I wanted to make. I'm doing these out of order, I suppose, but I guess I'm a rebel. Go me. So when you do something, do it in a way where when you walk away, you'll never touch it again. Okay. What I've seen happen, almost everybody does this who I've advised. They will go into something, they'll kind of put it down, fail, whatever, and then they'll keep thinking like, oh, if I did this, oh, if I did this, and they'll try it so many times, and I'm just like, it would have taken you 3 more days to do that final thing. And also, what's weird is sometimes when they do the thing that they keep thinking, what if, then they stay in it after that as well. So it really wasn't actually the issue. So their emotions are getting in the way of them succeeding, and it happens to like most of people that I see struggling. So what I recommend you do is figure out at what point you'll say, I'm putting this down. This is not worth it, and try to hit that point as soon as you can. Figure out, okay, in a month, can I figure out if this is worth it? In 2 months, can I figure out if this is worth it? At what point will I put this down and go on to something else? So at what point will you see if this AI thing is really kicking off? If you think it's that easy and that simple, all the AI projects I've heard, you can probably get running within a week or two. So if it really is, do it. Just do it. Don't talk about it. Don't think about it. Don't plan it. Just go in, do it. See if it really takes that long. And as you see things piling up, you'll realize, actually, this is out of my range. This is not something that I was as equipped for as I thought. And just fine, set a new benchmark. If you think that it's a random occurrence, couldn't have been controlled, what things happen, or it could have happened if you went into a different project, fine, but set a new benchmark, set a new point at which you'll reassess and see, does this keep growing? Because that's something people don't realize as well, is that any project you pick up will keep growing. The difference is the ones that seem easy, like AI generation, things like that, those are rabbit holes. They fill you with hope, and you keep thinking, oh, it could do this. Yeah, it could, but I mean, what are the chances that it's really going to actually do that? How do you determine that? How do you gauge that? Well, look at your actual progress. This looks like 2 weeks. See if it's 2 weeks. It looks like 2 more weeks. Fine. See if it is. But after what point will you decide, okay, after 3 times of being wrong, I need to accept that I don't know how long this is going to take. And also after the third time, it's like you thought it was 2 weeks. It's not even done after 2 months. What if you get to a point where you can't proceed? What if you get to a point where you just simply don't have the skills and you didn't realize that it takes that type of skill to do this thing? Or what if you realize it's illegal or something like that? There's all kinds of pitfalls that can come up later. So just set clear deadlines for yourself, clear milestones where you're going to decide at what point you're going to put it down, and try it until you're not going to pick it up again. All right? Do it. Do it, and do it well. Give yourself deadlines, push through. And also another benefit is if you are putting it down and you're like, okay, I'm going to try this for a week or two, and then, okay, I don't like this, let's do the next thing. You can cycle through 10 of your ideas and you can find out which one is the $1 million idea and get to it now or within the next few weeks, instead of always wondering and feeling bad about yourself and wondering if you really did all the things that you were supposed to do. And you feel good just kind of getting those under your belt. Even when you fail, it feels good to kind of reach a point where you're like, well, I did reach the point. I did this business until it reached a point where I knew it was going to fail. I put it down. I was smart enough to realize that. I moved on to the next thing. Right away, you're a business guru and you can make decisions that other people tend to come to me for, when honestly, everybody has the answers already. I can't really think of a time when someone didn't already have the answer when they came to me about something. Any reasoning I use is pretty much common sense. It's something that anyone would agree with. Like if I said, hey, how would you weigh this out? How would you determine this? How would you do this? People are indecisive, but if I make them decide, they come up with the right answer. Sometimes we just don't know which direction to go to get to it. And most of the time, confidence is what people lack. I'd say more than 90% of the time, confidence is the main thing people lack. And once you get some of that under your belt, you push forward with a vigor that leads to success, even if you're going the wrong way. There was a wise person that once said, the best thing you can do is the right thing to do, the second best thing you can do is the wrong thing to do, and the worst thing you can do is nothing. Anyway, so point number one, brainstorm all of your ideas, jot them down. And then if you want to try to weigh them out or compare them, then just kind of compare what does it cost and when am I getting that back? How much time or money does this take? Everything either costs time, money, space, or a combination of those things. But those are the three assets that you have or don't have. Okay, those are the three things that something can cost you. Okay, time, money, space. I guess friendship could be costed in some situations, but usually it doesn't come up. Anyway, but typically physical material items, time, money, space. All right, what's it cost you? How quick are you getting that back? What's the best return per year per dollar that you put into it? And then there you go. That's a good way to weigh things out. Or you can pick the quick, easy thing to just start, try it out real quick, get some experience under your belt while you're waiting for the funds to build up for doing the next project, or just getting experience in general to try this methodology and see if it works for you. All right. Number two, and also consider your interests, see if that's a factor, if it plays a role or not. Number two, next investing advice that I've got is the things that you typically need to go into investing in something in general is usually you need either income, not either, but you usually need income, savings, credit score, or a combination. You can get around all of those things, usually if you have enough money. But for example, I don't know if this is still the case, but I found some lenders before where I had no credit, no money, and no funds of any kind, and they were willing to finance an apartment building. Why is that the case? Well, it's because of how they work fundamentally. Like, why do companies consider credit scores in general? It's because it's kind of like statistically, your credit being this high means you're good at doing this thing. Your credit goes up or down based on how well you'll do statistically. For example, when COVID got serious and there was a moratorium put on people, my credit score went down even though I did nothing. This just because statistically everybody was failing. And then the people that made it through that, their credit score went up higher than before it dropped, because anyone who did not fail at that point and did not drag their credit, did not doom their credit, was doing very well because they navigated a tough market, and those were the smart cookies there. So they had higher credit scores after the unveiling. So credit score, it's an index. It's not a true number, doesn't have intrinsic value. It's an index card kind of saying, here's where this person is generally on a scale. They're a little bit better or a little bit worse than the people who have higher or lower numbers than them. They're more or less likely to achieve in certain ways. Also, technically, you have 30 credit scores, but I'm not going to go into that. Also, there's ways around that. For example, I opened a business. My business has a different credit score than I have. I can apply to purchase a property with my company, or I can apply to purchase a property on my own, or I can pay someone else to apply to get a property, and we can split things 50-50 in some way. I manage it, they put the credit up, they take the risk, I do the work, we both have some skin in the game, and then we split the proceeds 50-50. There's other ways to go about it. Now, when you're going for an apartment building, nobody does that unless they know what the heck they're doing. Also, you have to prove to the company, to the lenders, that it's going to succeed. So if you do prove it's going to succeed, they want a piece of that, pie, all right? And so there are some that will let you do it if it really is that good of a deal, because you just have to prove that you know the numbers. And if you know the numbers, it's pretty hard for you to know enough numbers to prove to them and not be able to just hire a management company, because that's actually in the numbers as well. When you prove to them, you say, here's what it would cost for a management company to come in and run this, and here's why it'll get the funds that it'll get. Here's the interior, it's not completely trashed, it should pull in the average market value of what rent usually goes for in this area. Here's so if you prove all those numbers on paper that it's going to work out, then they'll give you the money, because you're doing all the work and they get a free paycheck. You've proven that you have sustainable income, that you're going to make more than what it costs in debt. And so they're like, oh yeah, for sure, we're going to go in on this, because there's no reason why I would not pay them, because then I lose my income. It would be passive income, in fact. I wouldn't have to worry about it, most likely, if I hired a management company to take care of all of it for me. So I have free income coming in, as long as I make sure to set up automatic payments to go to them. And if the payments don't come in, then they can just resell the property anyway and get their money back. So they don't really have anything to lose. They get a free paycheck by helping me get a free paycheck. So there are ways around things. If you have enough money, you can also get around that. Instead of, well, anyway, I'm not going to go into that, because I'm kind of getting past the time I wanted to spend on this video. But yeah, usually you want to look at how your income, it has to be provable to some extent. Your how much you have saved up can matter, because you can use that as a down payment, and your credit score matters. Usually you want 650 to 750. Higher credit score just means you get better rates. You need at least 650. Some years they say 640 is the minimum. Maybe look into, ask a lender nearby. And the best advice I got for you is, if you're going to invest in real estate, and that's the first thing you're looking at, talk to a private lender. Private lenders have to follow all the same legal constraints as a big bank, and they will follow them. There's no such thing as a cheap lender. Usually with people, you get what you pay for. With lenders, that's not the case. If they have an MLS number and you look up the MLS number and it shows legitimate, their name is tied to that MLS, and you can verify they are registered, they're not going to do anything wrong, because they are too easy to track down. That MLS, if you report that someone with this MLS did this thing, the Fed looks into it. The federal government looks into it and takes care of them right away, fines them, does everything it needs to. So there's no such thing as a cheap lender that gives you cheap. I shouldn't say there isn't one that gives you cheap service, because everyone has different tastes. But for the most part, any lender is as good as the next. They have the same rates. You get no benefit. A big bank is more likely to turn you down, a lot more likely to turn you down, because everybody's coming to them. They get to pick and choose the less risky investments. So a big bank is going to make you go through a lot more work. They don't really care if you fail, etc. A regular lender only gets their money from you succeeding, and they don't get to pick and choose. There's not a whole lot of word of mouth coming from going towards private lenders. So find yourself a local private lender and use them. You're more likely to get the place. You'll get the best rates, and they will pay attention to you. They'll be much more likely to get you on the right track of what you need to do. They're much more likely to get you to succeed, and they usually also have helpful investment tips, but don't count on that necessarily. Just because I said so, just in general, they have better advice. All right, so check them out. And then the third tip I already gave along inside of the first tip, because I'm dumb and didn't structure this properly. But hopefully not too dumb to give you good advice. Yeah, go ahead. Anyway, so hopefully that helps you guys. You take it easy. Have a good night, everybody.